I got a cooker of an intro. You ready for this?
Yeah.
This just in. Breaking news! Today, in the Race to World First, heroic Smolderon causing many issues for Race to World First guilds. Mythic Gnarlroot goes down in controversy. People banned for seeds. And more in today's coverage of the Race to World First. Dratnos, how's your day been, buddy?
Oh, pretty good. Just woke up here. It's about almost midnight over in EU. Very good.
Wait, you mean you're not in Minnesota?
No, not in Minnesota nor Ohio. We are in EU. The EU thing was, you were pretty much right. It was just a normal mode attempt. So I can tell you there was some strategy to pull Farrakh a little bit off stream afterwards on normal.
Okay.
But they had a person holding the lockout and that bugged. And it just didn't. Farrakh wasn't up on that lockout that they tried to save for that purpose. So yeah, they just went to bed and then woke up and started raiding.
Gotcha. I mean, it seemed like it was just a content play more than anything else. It seemed like there was actually...
Yeah, content was the main goal, yeah.
I thought it was maybe a bit more strategy focused. It seems like it was maybe a bit more content focused after I watched. So basically what Echo did is they bum rushed a normal
doubled first normal
on
the NA servers, and then went to bed and woke up at 5 a.m. to start their splits, which they've just now left for the day after doing, so
God.
Nice long day of splits.
God. Okay, so another split news. As you see the bottom left, our first topic of the day, heroic Smolderon wall. What this is actually referring to is the fact that for a lot of guilds, as you can see on screen right here, Smolderon is quite challenging to do in splits. I think that Liquid, this is going to be their 6th kill of heroic Smolderon, if I'm correct. They were struggling a little bit last night, so NA's first day, to be able to even kill heroic Smolderon splits. I think they were able to get it down twice, and this will be their 4th kill if they're able to do it today. A lot of it comes down to the fact that doing this boss with helpers, the damage check is non-trivial, where the teams run out of room pretty substantially. And something that you and I were talking about yesterday, how hard is splitting the raid going to be with helpers? What does the massive item level jump really look like? Echo also had similar problems splitting heroic Smolderon today, yeah?
Yeah, they got some done, but they had 2 splits doing it simultaneously, and one was doing it relatively easily and one was having more difficulties. So I think that it's because that boss, if you don't soak the orbs that spawn in the intermission and they reach the boss, that's really bad. If you have a lot of helpers that are messing that up, it's very, very bad. So definitely a hard boss to split with a high percentage of helpers. A lot of guilds have killed it with just guild runs, right? But of course, guild runs are so much more inefficient than helpers. So
yes,
both Echo and Liquid, they are deciding that it's worth spending the time getting that extra gear by having the helpers in there. And I think they're probably right, because if you just, there's a temptation when you wipe to something for 30 minutes or an hour with helpers, you'd be like, okay, let's just go do this with our guild or whatever. And that's been something that's happened in previous tiers to some extent, but I don't think you can make that call this early, because you're going to run into the spot where if you do that, then in a couple days you're going to be on Mythic and you're just 3 item levels behind and you're dead, right? You can't kill bosses and you're missing checks. So I mean, it's nasty.
I actually think that what you're saying is maybe changing my mind. I was actually about to say that I didn't think that Liquid has actually been doing that great with their splits just in general, and it's not due to loot conservation or anything of that variety. I think that they had a bit of a rougher time than what I saw. And this is just using the eye test, a bit of a rougher time from what I saw relative to Echo on splits. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a marathon. It's probably not. It's probably not going to matter. Optimizing for loot is almost certainly going to be the best thing long term. And I don't think it's going to be super impactful. I mean, we might look back on this and be like, oh man, maybe Liquid or Echo lost or gained a little bit of time here and here during splits, but I think that's something at the end of the day you probably look at in retrospect. It's not something that you look at in real time and be like, oh my god, this is a bad thing.
There certainly have been tiers where splits have gone wrong, but usually it's not so much, plus or minus 2 or 3 hours. Usually it's oh, we did too many or too few splits, right? That's usually the things that the guilds criticize. But, if Smolderon ends up costing a certain split an hour or something like that is important. That is something that could matter at the end of the day. So we'll have to see how it turns out in the next couple of days. I think trying to see when the guilds reach Mythic and what their item level is at that time is really going to be the first time that we get a really good idea of who won or lost the split phase of this Race to World First.
Okay, so let's talk about Gnarlroot. So as you may see in the bottom topic right there, Gnarlroot has actually gone down on Mythic for now 2 bosses, one being Blue Shoe and one being Honolulu. I talked to the people from Honolulu a little bit before we started this. They cited it as very easy, saying that they only needed 2 pulls to be able to kill the boss off. It seems like this is a much easier check than doing a lot of heroic bosses with helpers, at least. I'm even
sure,
still, yeah. And we've had one guild, well, actually 2 guilds now, Blue Shoe and a different a North American guild, kill heroic Varak. And there's some interesting stuff with the composition that you might see from Blue Shoe on both Gnarlroot and Farak, and it's kind of led to a bit of controversy, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure what's going on. You know, sometimes Raider.io gets these compositions wrong when they're like uploaded, so you got to be a little bit careful about it. But it does seem like they just played the same roster on Heroic Farak as Mythic Gnarlroot, at least as what Raider.io saw, and that's like a 1-tank roster, which would be very weird. That's not something that, you know, should work on those fights. So there's a decent chance that maybe characters are just missing or not being uploaded properly to Raider.io, or maybe something else, some other shenanigans are at play here. I'm not sure.
I think the Gnarlroot, like we were talking about it a little bit earlier, the Farak thing is a bit questionable, and it's kind of hard to gauge like how big of a deal it is. But the Gnarlroot kill, especially after Honolulu comes in and kind of blasts the boss, they claim it's super easy, able to kill it in 2 pulls. You know, with 19 people alive, like you see on screen right here, maybe there's something going on with Raider.io or something like that.
I think that's the most likely thing, is probably just the Raider.io is having some kind of problem with getting all their characters shown, which that does happen from time to time. So
that's how it is.
That would be my guess before calling any kind of foul play.
Any other controversies? I think we missed one yesterday whenever we were recording our video.
Yeah, we recorded before this happened, but Seed Farmers, there were players rolled back in 2 players in Echo, like 10 players in Liquid, 0 players in Method, got characters rolled back to 8 Renown or to and they got the Enchanted Worms Crest removed from their inventory as well.
Yeah.
Based on abusing one of a couple different exploits that existed to get to Renown 20 without actually doing the full amount of work. And yeah, I mean, there were some Reddit threads about this that were discussing it, and a lot of them I think missed the point. Like, this is actually a pretty big nerf. If you look at all these heroic Smolderon splits and you think like, oh, if my, if my 5th mage or whatever has an extra 476 piece of crafted item that the Enchanted Worms Crest offers, that's a pretty big deal. And losing that Enchanted Worms Crest on those characters, that does reduce the throughput of these splits. It doesn't really affect the main power level that much long term. Like, by the time we're a couple days from now, that's not going to matter. But the alts are definitely hurt by this, the ones that were affected. So, I think it's probably good that Blizzard banned the most egregious of or not banned, but like took action against these most egregious exploits. I think the rollback was the right way to do it as well, because it would suck to have the race just not happen this tier, or like have a guild have multiple players banned for multiple days of some kind. Like, I think that would be not proportionate, but I do think rolling back the reward that they earned by doing it is a perfectly proportionate way to action whatever Blizzard says is across the line here. And I do think that some of the exploits were pretty clearly just straight up exploits, right? Like, I don't know. The challenge comes when you're in one of these guilds, you just look and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to get banned for doing this. So I feel kind of obligated to do it because Blizzard's so inconsistent about it. But, as long as I think Blizzard should continue to set a nice consistent precedent. And hopefully this is a step towards this being more consistent, where you can kind of expect that if you do something like this, you will get in trouble. And therefore you won't feel like you are obligated to do it in future tiers, which I think there were a lot of people who felt like there was no chance they would get actioned for doing that this tier, and that that being proven wrong, I think, is a good thing.
I think the rollback is definitely the correct approach as opposed to just a blanket ban.
Yeah, bans would have been nasty.
I think especially too, since it was like super widespread, just like a ban seems like really heavy-handed. I mean, Blizzard could do whatever they want. Ultimately, at the end of the day,
they were within their rights to. Yeah. And players have been banned for longer for less, right? There's been other similar exploits that. Ivis or whatever, draft of 10 lands. There's been several different tales of players getting smaller benefits and bigger punishments.
Bro, so, don't bring up that tree. Don't bring up that tree.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's tough though, because you can look back through the history books and you can find things that people got away with as well that were worse than this too. So
I mean,
I don't know. Consistency is a really tough goal to achieve here. But I think just looking in a vacuum at this particular action, it seemed very fair to me.
I think controversially, people have also talked about, like, should you have even been able to click the rep tokens on the same tick and get like bonus rep and stuff like that. People have because people got a pretty large benefit if you did that early, right? There was people that were talking about should those people also be rolled back, and I mean it's not super clear, but I mean ultimately Blizzard went with no, but
yeah, I think they landed on a I don't know. I mean, like
I think the seed like clicking. Okay, so basically how it worked is like you would have to like interact with the seed multiple times, and then you would like feed the seed to
you'd
to
have
be able
like two people doing it as well, right?
Yeah,
like one person that was just kind of feeding the seeds in, and one person could get the extra clicks on the rep piece. Yeah,
I mean it's pretty clear.
It was pretty clearly over the line. Like I had it explained to me a couple days ago, and it was like a 5-step process. It's like, okay, you're never doing this by accident, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, it's stupid. It's such a small benefit, anyways, for most players. So I think a lot of people are upset about this wrongly because for almost all players, it really doesn't matter whether or not you get to Renown 20 this week, next week, or never. Like it's not a big deal outside of Race to World First. But I do think it's nice for Race to World First that Blizzard is looking at this and enforcing, a little bit, because it does sometimes feel like
it is the Wild West.
Like the Race to World First players that did this definitely thought they could get away with it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice that, okay, maybe they actually can't get away with anything.
I've seen some people kind of foolishly be like, oh, why aren't the Race to World First guilds talking about all the people that got rolled back and blah, blah, blah. Listen, there's a time to talk about stupid stuff that has happened coming up and leading into the race. That is not right now. I'm sure we're gonna
full focus mode.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna hear about it in a few weeks after the Race to World First. Nobody's speaking out about now. You're not gonna have Scriper Max really talking about seed rollbacks because frankly, it doesn't matter. There's a time to talk about it.
They're busy.
And they're busy. Yeah, it's not right now. And ultimately at the end of the day, it probably doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is winning the race. Literally, that's all they care about.
All right, I think that's all we've got for this week's recap. Yeah.
Or what do we kind of expect to see coming in the next 24 hours? I think that Liquid's probably going to. I think Liquid's still in heroic splits in the next 24 hours. Echo by the end of day tomorrow, still also in heroic. Nobody's going to be. I don't think anybody's going to be in Mythic because Tendril.
I think we're many days away from Mythic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's Mythic Plus to do as well. Probably that. Yeah, I suspect it's going to be a long gearing up process this time. I think if we see Mythic by Friday, I'd be pretty happy. I mean, I'd be very happy. If we see it on Saturday, I probably wouldn't even be surprised.
What's the Tendril splits looking like for these guilds? Are that is it?
I don't think it's been attempted yet, right? But it looks it's a mystery.
It looks like Liquid did it.
Okay, Liquid's done it. Okay,
but I'm not like 100% sure.
What's
I mean, this
the helper
is like,
ratio here. Yeah,
it's a good question. It looks like it's maybe like somewhere between 5 to 10 helpers, but
okay. Yeah, I mean that seems a reasonable amount to do for that boss, but it's always scary to start killing it because then what if the other guild comes in with more helpers and is able to do it, right? And is just able to get more gear. That boss drops some really high level gear and drops tier helmet. It's very powerful items, so I mean, but also getting into Mythic sooner is also really valuable, so that's always the trade-off.
I mean, if you're able to split Heroic Farok as well, like Curios, like if you're able to get like Heroic Curios, okay, so tier drops at a lower rate than it has before throughout the whole entire raid. However, the Catalyst is unlocked right now, and basically all you need is like, you get the AOTC token, so all you need is like basically 2 Heroic tier pieces, and if you're able to split up to 30 people on Farok and get like 3 Curios or something like that, that's like a massive gain. Like I'm pretty sure that's huge for all of the mains that are in that Farok split. So
yeah,
we'll say
that's massive.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. I think in the next 24 hours we kind of expect to see some splits. Hopefully they have some controversy so we could talk about it tomorrow. God, I love
that would be good. Yeah,
God, I love drama. Yeah. I think Mythic Plus is also a bit more prevalent than it has been in the past.
I suspect that'll happen at some point before Mythic progression, but maybe it'll happen after the first few easy Mythic bosses. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. We're out of here. Dragonus has Mythic Plus to do. I got Mythic Plus to do. We got to go grind some gear.
See you, gamers.
Later, dudes.